Welcome back to the Oracle section of today's episode of 1320 Time Stream covering the planetary human. Okay, let's get directly into it. Planetary human. Planetary hand. Planetary sun. Planetary wind. Self-existing moon. Okay. The human and the hand. It's always an interesting one. The aspect of the manifesting and the perfection comes in many ways, and I find with the human central dynamic of identity of wisdom comes the hand's presence of knowledge. While wisdom in some way is the accomplishment of the self, knowledge is the accomplishment of that which the self is producing. And so the hand is really the aspect that is changing the outside world. It is the outer world. It is the building. It is the construction. It is the production. It is the gardening. It is the skill driving the car. It is any single thing that your hand can touch. Essentially is every single form of objectification in the entire world, because your hand can touch that. And that is why the hand is so vast, like all the signs are so vast. And so in this way, we have the helping hand of the human. The human is that simple or complex attitude towards embodiment and identity. And so the hand is bringing knowledge to be coupled with that wisdom, and the perfection and manifestation energy of the hand. It's becoming planetary. It's becoming, it's arriving in the isness. This is your isness. While we can define it via the words manifestation, perfection, and they're extremely valid, there's another aspect which is in the name of the tone itself, and that is planetary. And so it's showing up in the world. And so that perfection, that manifestation, while those are descriptions, the idea or the very function of a thing, of a something showing up in the world, becoming on that planetary level, it is its existential parameter is touching all of those dimensional constants, which requires it to do so for it to even exist. There's so much more supporting something or a flow of energy or a thought or whatever to being in the world than we can possibly imagine. And so the planetary hand energy today is how we're accomplishing that embodiment, how we're accomplishing that identity, and how we're perfecting that unity of concept to constant. And as well, how we're showing up in the world with the quality of our being towards other people. Because the other aspects of, say, the human or the hand are represented in, like, going to work maybe. Maybe that's it. And so what comes out there is how the human comes out there. How does the human come out at work? How does the human come out with your friends? How does the human come out as the being who is the product of the experience of the good vibe that you're sharing, or depending on who you are or what you've seen or experienced, the bad vibe? So in here we find a bit of a beautiful simulacrum, not a dualism in respect to polarity, but like a reflection that's coming closer together. I find the sun, as we come into the planetary sun, it moves directly from the hand, because the hand is that knowledge, and the hand is a very embodied and encompassed, grasped energy. And so the human is also about that embodiment energy. The hand is that thing that is kind of grasped or delivered. And then we have the sun, which is like, in some way, that like illuminated dynamic outside of the very sense of its fiery, even very physical sun in the sky portrayal, which it also does represent. In fact, as I'm recording this, it's beaming sun outside and it's actually rather warm. And so, if I really wanted to, I could talk about how the sun actually plays into my own experience of the day, which more times than not, I'd say a good 80% of the time, when guided by the sun or on a sun day, it's beaming sun outside. And on storm days, or the other day when it was challenged by the storm, it was pouring rain outside. And so what's largely being expressed through the vocality, the sharing of these episodes, and the description of a lot of the signs is more of an ideological, symbological embodiment that represents more of an intangible, not so physiological existentialism. But every single one of these seals has a perfectly planetary, perfectly manifested existential presence on the causal plane as well. And so on those Earth days, and this whole thing right now is a transmission from the sun, because we're talking about this kind of higher knowledge in some respect. So like on an Earth day, maybe the day when you really get in there and touch the plants. It may be a day where you feel and touch the earth itself. A sun day may be that which it's simply time to go and suntan, or go chill at the beach, or just go be in the sun. While it can also represent the enlightened knowledge, it can represent the higher mind, it can represent universal or galactic consciousness. And so it really depends on how you want to embody the frequency. There is no right or wrong way. And so for me, I can only really describe what I feel coming through. And in that respect, in my wholeness, I am also limited. My limitation is the potential of maybe not being able to meet a specific need for you. And with that incompleteness comes the wholeness of me helping inspire you to claim your sovereignty. And that sovereignty is knowing that you, just as myself, have equal ability in any realm you choose to have. And so in spaces such as this, it's your ability to channel what these symbols mean to you, how the energies of the day show up for you. I find it matters even less what the symbols mean, and it's more about showing up at that time of the day and really receiving that vibration. It's different for everyone. And so these symbols are actually your own personal symbols, and they will relate to you in the ways that the energy that you find happening during them becomes your own personal experience of life. And so this becomes your palette. This is what the sun is telling us here. The planetary sun is to perfect that palette, to perfect that galactic and earth base, to perfect that holographic creation wisdom, because you are the creator. And this is one of your very readily available palettes to utilize and help paint for yourself and all others a beautiful and amazing reality. Okay. Let us move to the wind, the challenging power of the wind. And just because I was making this point a second ago, I'm gonna talk about my own experience. I came out earlier, and the wind on this really sunny day, the sun being high in the sky, not unlike the guiding power, the wind was blowing things everywhere and kind of breaking things. And I was like, oh, I had to pick up plant pots and things like that. And, it could have caused some damage. For real. The wind has stopped now, but it's also another aspect where we can bring in and saying, yes, the wind was actually physically a challenging energy today. It was a challenging power. And so this may not in fact be relevant for everyone. This was my own personal experience. And so for me, I see, and this also ties into the human very well too, is because this system is part of my identity. This system is part of my ability. This system is part of my wisdom. These reference points are part of my ability to show up as a complete being. And there's a wellspring of wisdom, a wellspring of knowledge, and a wellspring of ability to help others find themselves and help navigate them through evolutionary or dark night of the soul or just your own becoming. These are such relevant tools because we're getting into the wind energy here too. Everything is alive. Everything is a spirit. Everything is a spirit. And so as you witness that spirit, witness the living soul of an element, of an energy, you can have communion with that. You can communicate with it. And that is here what the wind energy is communicating with us today, is the perfection, the planetariness of that type of communication, that spiritual communication. Where we can communicate with our other humans on that spiritual plane. There's I don't even want to go into telepathy or any of these things because there's just so many different ways to describe that. The movement of the wind as it touches the trees can sometimes be synchronized to a pattern that's relevant to your awareness. And the spirit of creation works through the elements, like the sun and like the sky and like the earth, like the water, like the air. And that's part of our heritage as beings here, as humans, is to recognize our spiritual capacity and our ability to open ourselves to that communication, even challenge ourselves to be able to communicate in such a way. You see that while using our free will, another aspect of our free will is to dissolve the need to control, so that the wind of creation moves through us, so that the water of creation flows through us. And we become that empty vessel, open for spirit. And we are all compatible in this way with the earth plane. And as we move forward as well, in the next couple of days, we'll be able to see more of this energy unfolding with the Skywalker, with the Wizard, and with the Eagle. And all of this is so directly related to our night wave spell. Because we're tapping into the darkness, we're tapping into the unknown. And as we do that, we discover things that is beyond our knowledge. And this is a very good thing. And witnessing and experiencing the shuddering uncomfortability and or fear and or traumas that were in place of a time before you may have potentially known before. The night is the keeper, the gatekeeper. The darkness is where your light is stored. The darkness is the only force, is the only presence that can receive infinite light. You need the darkness. The darkness is safe. It is your ability to surrender. It is your ability to receive. It is your ability to remember. It is your space. The space that the spirit, represented by the wind, resides. Open to your space, your inner space, your outer space, and allow that spirit to inhabit. And you will gain much wisdom as you embody yourself further. Okay, let's move to the moon. I love the moon. Which will be the self-existing moon or full moon. And so this is really interesting, I find, because again, like on the dog day, we have the sun and the moon again as the challenging and helping powers. Today, and this one's kind of rare, because the helping and challenging powers will always be the same for each of the 13 tones that are touching whatever sign. So if it's a Sunday, the challenging and helping power will be the same for all magnetic, lunar, cosmic, electric, all the tones. But the guiding power of a day and just the hidden power will also be the same. So the only thing that actually changes are the guiding power on each one of the oracle, as you have a different tone paired with the same sign. And so the plausibility of the sun being the guiding power and the moon being the hidden power is actually only one. And this is that day. 1 out of 260 days. But the sun is the guiding power and the moon is the hidden power. Because only the human can have the moon as its hidden power. And therefore no other sign that can have the sun as its guiding power can have the moon as its hidden power. And so I feel the message in this moon's presence is uniqueness. It is the ability to open up to a moment that will never happen again, and to witness within that the Spirit made available to you by tapping in. And this is the dim light. This is the silent light. This is the hum and glow of the subtle electromagnetic emotional field that you're made from. When you hear the wind lightly blowing against you, that is what is exciting. When you feel someone, when you, say, feel a lover or a child or a friend, and you know what they're thinking before they say it, that's that field. When you feel different from when you go inside the house to outside of that house, that's that field. And so the moon invites us, and because the self-existing tone is about definition, it's about the container, it's about form, it's like going into the body that contains the moon, that contains the subtlety. This subtlety energy is like a small, almost unnoticeable breeze, just slightly touching your skin, just enough to almost give you goosebumps. So much so that you become uniquely aware of the properties of your surrounding. And this is the realm of the moon. And there's an attitude of embodiment. In our planetary energy of the human today, there is an attitude of embodiment that the moon deeply represents. And there's a part of it that, and it's very interesting because in some way this is a very unique beginning and end phenomenon, because tomorrow we start the Skywalker. The moon, then the dog, then the monkey, then the human. In a way, the moon began the circuit of emotions, and the human is finishing the circuit of emotions. And so, to see the human as the main day and the moon as the final power is kind of a little bit of an alpha and omega play there. And so it feels like it's like a tender kiss goodbye as we go into the more abstract dynamic and prophetic initiation, which is the Skywalker tomorrow. And so that embodiment that we're speaking of is the cultivation of your subtlety, is the cultivation of your finely tuned senses, your delicateness, your tenderness. As you untense your body, allow your skin, allow your nerves, allow your emotional body to stretch out and open up. Allow yourself to become vulnerable. Allow yourself to receive. And another thing happens there. Maybe you literally can't do that where you are. Maybe it is actually unsafe to become that vulnerable. then the moon asks you to do another thing, and it's to find that space, to create that space for yourself so you can touch yourself in that way, so you can allow yourself to be touched in that way. What we're expressing here is a very natural phenomenon and is one of the heightened priorities of our evolution right now, whose main symbol is like the rising or the evolution of the divine feminine or the goddess. And so finding a safe space for the her in you, whether you're male or female gendered, the her is in everyone. And so to be able to find a place where you and her can share equal ground, where you can show up for her by honoring her needs for an appropriate and proper space, for her to show up within you. And allowing that sensitivity, whatever it looks like to you, to touch you in that special and sensitive way. That delicate, maybe very personal way, that very private way, that's just for you. That secret voice that whispers your secret name. This is the moon today, being defined by the self-existing tone. This is the moon of self-existence. Exist for yourself. Go into yourself. Cry into your heart. Feel your emotions. Know that they are a very empowering and positive part of your identity. And that moon asks you to allow those emotions to flow and to give space for them. And this space will touch with the spirit of things here, where the wind is concerned, where the sun is concerned, where the hand of healing, self-knowledge is concerned, to help embody and perfect the human that you are. Okay. That feels good. Start your engines, because our time ship is purring. Okay, let's go to our next segment here, which is going to be the Mind Pyramid Meditation for today. Stay tuned.